Welcome to the Becoming Podcast. I'm your host, Gor. Today I have a guest with me, Martin Lopez.
Those are the three fundamentals for it. Impact powerful involvement. I mostly coach, but I do have what I call
Martin is a high performance coach. We're going to get into his background, how he works with a multitude of personalities, and what things have been most impactful in his coaching, and how you can apply it in your life to up level everything from your health to your relationships to your performance. With that said, let's get into it. Martin, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Gordon. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome. I wanted to start with like your story, how you got into this and the progression of how you ended up where you ended up.
Oh, awesome. Okay. I'm 60 years old right now. I started when I was 23. I started coaching.
Wow.
And the reason I started coaching when I was 23 was I was in the real estate business. And I was really good in real estate at the age of 20, 22, and 23. So I worked with a company called Coldwell Banker. And then I would then do, because I was always getting awards, they wanted me to start training people. So I'm a 23-year-old. I had long hair, just kind of just a wild little kid, but I was just excelling at sales. And they wanted me to teach all the people that were now my age, that were retired people, because back in the 80s, it was a majority of the people that were professional real estate agents were all people that were retired, like they retired from the Navy or whatever. And so I would go and I would speak in all the different offices, and then someone would ask me to lunch. And just like you, like somebody ask you to lunch to pick your brain about
Yeah.
relationships or about performance and all the things that you work with. So they would ask me to lunch, and I'd go, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'd go to lunch, and then they would basically have me coach them in techniques, but I didn't know it was coaching. And I did that for probably into my mid 30s before I understood I was coaching people.
You're like, wait a minute.
That's right. That's right. They get they pay for lunch, and then what happens is they make more money, and I just got a lunch out of it.
Yeah.
I switched from real estate to lending. So when I was 35, I made a switch from one career, basically in the same field.
Yeah.
So then I couldn't charge, because then the people that I was talking to as a loan officer were real estate agents. So then I started to train rather than just do coaching. I just created my own training based on what I was doing before, what I'd always trained on. And then I kept doing that. And then somewhere in my late, probably around 47, 48 years old, I started to charge people a little bit for coaching stuff.
Yeah.
And then they decided not to pay me.
So you would have those types of clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you tell, and I didn't know, I think the thing was, is I didn't know how to charge people.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for coaches, is like, how do you charge people? Like, and I think that had a lot to do with my own personal value.
Yeah.
And then I wrote a book called The Curiosity Theory, Transforming the Way You Communicate. And then once I did that, then I got a lot more speaking gigs in different areas. And then when somebody asked me out to lunch, I would say, absolutely, it's $350. And I'm like, what?
Awesome.
And I'd
Yeah.
say, it's $350 to go to lunch with me. Like, where are we going to eat? I said, no, I don't, we can eat where you want.
Yeah.
Just, you're going to pay me $350 for the lunch, because you're not, like, you don't want to go to lunch with me. That's not the thing you want to do. You don't want to go to lunch with me. You want me to teach you a technique, or you want to learn how to make more money. So, and so I started to do that. And I did that because somebody did that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
That's
that's a good
interesting.
idea.
I'm curious if your book, Curiosity Theory, applies outside of communicating with other people to yourself too, because curiosity is
100%.
a big thing.
Yeah.
My best approach to self-talk, because a lot of guys are hard on themselves, I lean a lot towards curiosity. And that's something that I learned from one of my mentors, Prince Kapoor. He
Hmm.
was my fitness coach. I was very hard on myself during that time that we were working together, and he would just guide me and reframe my mindset. It helped a lot. So that curiosity approach is really big. When you said that your book is the curiosity theory, I was really drawn to that.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So I think curiosity is fundamental. And I'll tell you, it impacts like literally every conversation. It impacts the conversations you have with yourself, with other people.
Yeah.
It has your teams. If you're, let's say you're a manager or a leader or CEO, it affects that. So my clients are anywhere from professional ball players, CEOs to entrepreneurs, like and solopreneurs. Those are my
Mhm.
clients. So I mostly coach men, but I do have women. I call them alpha achievers, and they're always seeking, like, how can I do this better? What's a different technique? What's all that? And so what I do is I work on fundamentals. Like, what are the fundamentals of, of life? So if you could be a football player that doesn't make your bed, right? You're good. I'm playing professional football, but I don't make my bed.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great. That's a fundamental. Like making
Yeah.
your bed is a fundamental. Or I'm not paying my bills and my credit's not very good. Like these are things that are important. People say, well, what does that have to do with like excelling on the football field? Well, you know what? If you're worried about your credit, you're worried about bills, you're worried about, you're having to take an advance on your pay because you spent all your money last week, then you're not going to be present to be on the field, just like a CEO or I would imagine that works with you when it comes to helping people learn how to date, right?
Absolutely. Well, when a lot of guys will be like hard on themselves, so their state is usually in a bad place, especially when they're going up to a woman and expecting the woman to reject them, and they're just like in a bad mood. So when the little things like, for example, making your bed, or even you're tracking your meals, you're measuring your progress, you're weighing in every day. When all of that is on point, like you're going for walks twice a day, these basic things really keep you stable when your outside world is like full of chaos. These are the things to
Yeah.
hold on to. And I totally relate to how you say, even if you're a professional player, the fact that you don't make your bed is leading you down the wrong path because you don't have the foundation in place. You need to stick to the little things and have that foundation so that you can build on it. Because as a man, that stability is huge for us. And especially when meeting women, women look for stability. And it's not so much money stability as most guys think. Even if she likes you for being rich, it's not because you're rich, it's because being rich implies stability, right? You could give her stability without being rich. It's just that we associate these things to the things outside of ourselves. So that's huge in terms of like applying it to our own lives.
I love that. So, how I would vamp on that, Gore, is I would say trust, safety, and respect. Those are the three fundamentals for everything. I look at all that, right? Trust, safety, and respect. So, what's confidence? Confidence, if you look at the etymology of confidence, it means immense trust.
Hmm.
So, if you can't trust yourself to make your bed and you wonder why you're lacking confidence on the field or in a real estate transaction or a business transaction, you wonder why that's not there. It's because what you've done is you've planted a seed in your own brain, in your own presence, right? Who you are is somebody that's not consistent, somebody that leaves messes. You because walking away from a bed, not making it is leaving a mess. So go look in your bathroom. Where's your toothpaste? Is it tightened up? People go,
Yeah.
that's stupid. No, it means something because like you said, the woman comes over. When she comes over, she's gonna notice things. Like when Ingrid, my girlfriend, comes over to my house, that bathroom has been cleaned even if it
Yeah.
was clean. The toilet has been scrubbed, absolutely scrubbed, wiped down, and I washed the shower, I washed the sink, everything's wiped down. Because when she comes there, I want to make sure that she has a place to go that it's going to be clean, that's going to be that she can feel comfortable in. Not like a dump if there's my chonies on the floor or something like that. Like that's not the environment I want her to live in. So then that transfers over to other things. That transfers over to how I'm communicating with men, how I'm communicating with my clients, and how can I say something to somebody? How can I support somebody in their confidence? Which remember, confidence means immense trust. How can
Yeah.
I support them in confidence when for me, I don't trust myself to do the things?
Do you find that your communication and your approach is different towards women than it is for men?
No, because what I've learned is my voice. Like I said, I'm 60, so I've learned my voice, and so trusting my voice is what's important to me is to trust my voice. So I'm not trying to be somebody different for different people. I have what I call fundamentals. So and I'll explain this kind of might answer the question. So I got divorced about 6, 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And when I was going through my divorce, in the process of talking to my ex-wife, one of the things that came up was for me, and she didn't necessarily say that, but was for me, I wanted to be kind in the process. And I'm a kind person. I'm not a mean person, right? But I just said, how can I be kind in this process? Like not be a complete asshole, not being a jerk. And that's what I did. So I took on what I took on I call them qualities, right?
Uh-huh.
There's fundamentals and qualities. Fundamentals are what are your core values that you currently possess at a high level. Qualities are ones that you want to add to that. So
What
what
do you
I
mean?
said is okay, so let's say for instance, let's take a CEO, right? Let's take a CEO that's already very, very successful. And they come to me because they want to work with me. And a lot of coaches want to change people. You're not going to
Yeah.
change a CEO. Not interested in changing. He's interested in seeing what works for him and what doesn't work for him.
Uh-huh.
So what works for him are the fundamentals. Those are things that work. And then what doesn't work for him are things that need improvement, right? But sometimes what doesn't work for him or what they think they need to work on is not going to really impact them. I'll give you an example. This weekend I worked with an accountant, okay? And I was working with an accountant this weekend, and he said he wants to work on his confidence, right? So he explained to me where he needs work on the confidence, and I said, "How about let's work on you just being bold this week?" And he's like, "Well,
Uh-huh.
what do you mean?" I said, "So, okay, so when you're in the elevator going to your office, put your shoulders back, put your chin up,
Yeah.
right? Just it." And I said, "I don't care if you walk into the office that way. I don't care if you I don't care about this. I just want you to have an experience of yourself with your chest out and shoulders up, shoulders back, chest out, and your chin up. I want you to have that experience. Okay. That's all I said. Just do that. I want you to be bold. I want you to experience bold." And I said, "Do it right now." And he goes, "Okay, you were at the beach," and he put his shoulders back, his chest up. I said, "How do you feel?" I go, "Do you feel more confident or less confident?" He goes, "I feel more confident." I said, "So confidence isn't a thing to work on because a lot of times we work on things that we're deficient in. And so all we're going to do is experience that over and over." It's kind of like what you said. You got to know what to work on. It may not be confidence. Let's work on something else that you can work on that's going to ripple into confidence. Because going after confidence, you don't think she's going to respond to you anyway. And that's kind of how I see you work with people.
I find there's a lot of overlap with that.
Well, it's all
Uh,
the same thing, right? It really is all the same thing. I call myself a human performance coach. Why? Because we want to perform better as humans.
yeah. I find whenever I'm working with women versus men, the most common pitfall like I'll see with women is that they will take the advice and be astounded by it. They're like, oh, wow, they'll be the most interested, they'll be the most ambitious. And then they will go back to following their emotions and make the same mistakes. With men, they're more resistant and hard to convince than women and more resistant to change. But then when they commit, they go and implement. And then after that, it's like they're hard on themselves. Like, why did I do it? I could have done it better. How do I do it like a step further? Um, and then women will be like, I just did it again. What do I do now? Like, I told you not to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all different in terms of how to approach the situation. I imagine like performance is a different topic in regards to like they're working and they want to do something better where it comes to career or like they're already on the path to working on themselves. But with dating, there's a lot of emotions involved. So that's where the common pitfalls I come across.
Yeah, you said what you were saying to me was so I divide human beings into three different things that we do. Like we do three different things. We think, we feel, and we act,
Right.
right? So what you were describing was somebody that thinks of what he wants to do and he acts on what he wants to do, and then later on he goes, "You're feeling it, right?"
Yeah.
But then when you describe the way that the women did it is they felt first, right? They're feeling, and then they act, and then they just keep thinking about it, right? They keep harping on it, like,
Yeah.
but they're thinking about it. So It's really
Yeah.
funny because I'm more of that. Like for me, so I figured all people are all those three things. So you're a thinker, you're an actor, and a feeler. You are all those things because you have thoughts, right? And then you have to move, which is action, and then you have feelings, which are emotions, which we all have, right? So they all go together, but they happen so fast. So let's say for me, I'll explain for me. I'm a I'm a feeler first. I'm an emotional person.
Right.
So I'll deal with the emotions before I act. So I'm a feeler, actor, thinker,
Mhm.
which means I'll feel, is this a good idea? Okay, okay, good. And then I'll do it. And then I'll go back and I'll think about it. And I'll go, okay. And I'll go, okay, was that a good idea? Okay, cool. Then let me rewire my brain. That's a good idea. Always do that. My girlfriend, Ingrid, is a thinker, actor, feeler. So she's very logical. She'll think. She's not going to do anything unless she's thought it through. Okay. Then she's going to act on it. Right. And what almost always happens is she goes, afterwards, she goes, oh, shoot, did I, she questions herself. So that questioning yourself is the emotional process. I question myself logically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but some people just act. They're like very reactive people. So like CEOs and
Right. Yeah.
like, high action alphas, right? Like
Right.
they're going to act first. They're going to act. And then they go, oh, shoot. Okay. That was a good idea. And then they feel better. I feel better. Does that make sense? I feel better. I did that. And that's why they do that because that one, two, three is how they learn to wire themselves. It's like shoot first, ask questions later.
Where do you think that the disconnect comes when people feel like they want to do something, they think they should do something, but then the action's missing?
They don't have enough. So when somebody feels something and they don't act, they don't have enough trust in themselves that it's going to turn out the way they want it to.
I see.
So it's easier to feel and not do because if you feel and don't do, then you're still safe. But when you feel and do, then you made the right decision because that's how we're wired. Our reptilian brain is fight, flight, or freeze. We're designed for survival. The thing is, and then what you do is you tap into the next version of who we are. And that's what
Uh,
just human performance is. We're
right.
tapping into the new version of who we are, but the old version is still designed. Our old version is still designed as a survivalist. You have
Right.
to then you have to then rewire the brain. The brain goes, cool, yeah, taking chances. I love that shit. Fuck yeah, let's go. You know,
So you teach yourself that taking chances can be a good thing by doing it so much that you get good results and you latch onto those good results as evidence?
you use the results as evidence. So you analyze the results. Okay, it's like I did this, it didn't work. Okay, great. Now I know what didn't work, and then I just go, okay, I'm going to try this. Like Edison, how many like 10,000 times he tried to invent electricity or the light bulb, right?
Yeah.
Like he messed up many, many times, and most of the people that are watching this podcast will stop after messing up once or twice.
Right. So in terms of like the people that just jump into that uncertainty and jump into that pain, and the people that are trying to avoid that pain, they associate that uncertainty with pain because obviously there's no certainty and uncertainty, so there's more chance of pain. Whereas like
Mhm.
comfort is less pain, and you already know that that's proven. What is the quality that you feel gets people to make that shift when because usually I find it's either like trauma or some sort of like inspiration in life
Mhm.
where they're pushed against the wall and they have no choice and they're like, I will never be this person again.
Yeah,
And now they have more pain in the comfort than they do in the uncertainty. Now the pain switch.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so
Can
what
you
it's really
replicate it,
cool.
you know?
So the thing is so many people like the sciences and the therapy is right is all about dealing with the trauma. Like it's
Mhm.
like you should deal with your trauma, you should deal with your trauma, right?
Yeah.
And the way I approach it is I don't need to deal with your trauma. Your trauma is going to fix itself. Like your trauma will fix itself when it no longer is valuable for you, right? So let's say you're afraid of you're a baseball player, right? Now, I don't teach swinging the bat. I don't know how to swing the bat better. I taught my kids how to swing the bat. Okay.
Yeah.
But I taught them simply to swing the bat. That's all I taught them. Okay. Settle ball player that played for Oakland A's. He's a
Mhm.
pitcher. He's a pitcher, and he was an okay batter, but he was okay. And so what he do? He hardly ever swang. Just like he'd take the strike or he'd get the walk. And in the majors, a lot of times they'll walk the depending on the game. It's like respect. So, but he actually wanted to swing the bat, but he was too afraid. So when we talked about how he was in college and high school and all that, he just said he would just because he's a pitcher, he sees the ball. And if he sees the ball, because he sees the ball, he knows what the ball is going to do. So is he in the game or is he a in the stands when it comes to being at bat? If he's watching the ball and knows what the ball is going to do, is he in the game or is he in the stands?
Game.
No, he's in the stands because hitters they're not watching the ball guessing what it's going to do. They've taken so many reps that their body physically adjusts to whatever's happening. It's not you can't think that fast. When a ball's coming at you 94 miles an hour, 97 miles an hour, and it has movement on it, and
Mhm.
every pitch has a little different movement on it. You got a slider, you got a curveball, you got all these different kinds of pitches that are coming at you. You can't guess what he's going to throw.
Right.
You just got to swing. You've just got to swing, right? So therapy is about thinking about the pitch. What's he going to throw? How's it going to feel? Where's it going to go? How did I respond to it last time? How about we just swing at the ball? And then as you're swinging at the ball, what you're going to do is you're going to start to make adjustments because you're in the game now. You get it? So now if you want to talk about trauma, we'll talk about the trauma afterwards. Like we talk about trauma after 6 p.m. and before 7 p.m. a.m. That's like you do that on your own time, if you will. You get what I'm saying? But when you're in work mode, you work. It's not trauma time. It's execution time. If you're going to go, let's say you're sitting in a Starbucks, right? You see this really beautiful girl walk in. I want to go talk to her, right?
Mhm.
So most people are dealing with their trauma, right?
Anxiety.
Versus anxiety, all that, which anxiety is just negative future projecting, right? So that's what you're doing. Okay. So I can sit there and think about my anxiety, or I can get up and take a swing.
Mhm.
I could just get up, walk over there. Now I'm saying I don't care if you get up and walk to the bathroom. Just get up and do something. Just take a swing.
Oh, that's genius.
You get
Yeah.
it?
Just
Because
the something
go ahead.
towards the action that you want to take. I see.
Yeah. So if you just improved your action by 1%, you're like, I'm gonna get up and go to the bathroom again. Next time you see, get him go to the bathroom. You did that 3 times. Well, I'm really good at that. I've improved 3%. I've improved 4%. Right? What are you going to do now? I'm going to get up and stand right behind her. I'm
Yeah.
not going to talk to her.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to her.
Yeah.
But now I'm at 5%, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm at 5%. I'm still scared as heck to talk to a girl or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm still scared as heck to knock on a door, like real estate agent.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of them, they say, I mean, I've been coaching real estate agents for years. They'll say, I'm supposed to go knock on doors, right? I said, okay. I said, but I'm afraid of knocking on doors. I said, good. Then go walk around the neighborhood. At least just exercise. Just walk around the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Show up.
I don't
Yeah.
care. So, yeah, don't talk to anybody. They're like, well, that's a stupid thing to do. I go, well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. You know? And they'll almost always do the same thing. They'll go, what'd you do? So, what you coach? And coach, this is what I did. I said, okay, great. Well, tell me what you did. And they'll say, what I did is I went there and I was scared. And I just walked around the neighborhood. So what happened? I got a good workout. I said, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's better than therapy at your office, opining about yourself and making
Yeah.
yourself wrong because you're not going out knocking on doors, right? So when you're walking around, you think about, the fact that you were knocking on doors. No, I was just walking around looking at the houses. I said, so what did you learn? He goes, there's some nice houses in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
I now know the numbers. I said, great, cool.
That's
Try it
amazing.
again. And you go, well, I'm not going to go walk around. I'm going to knock on some doors. I said, fuck yeah, go do it. And they start knocking on doors. because getting up and going to the bathroom is like that's a eventually you go, that's stupid. I'm just gonna say hi to her. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say hi to her. You know, good, great. That was a win.
Yeah.
That was a win.
Absolutely.
I used to work with musical groups when I was in my 20s. I was a
Yeah.
record producer also, you know. That's how I got into real estate because I it was like the kind of thing I could do whenever I wanted to, you know. And so I had this one group. I've done this with many groups, but it's one group and they were such good singers, you know, but they weren't shy, but they weren't bold, you know, they weren't stage ready.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, here's what I want you guys to do. And I did this for probably 5 or 6 times. And I said, we're gonna get in the car and we're gonna drive to a busy intersection. And I'm gonna let you out and you're gonna sing on the corner until somebody stops and gets out of the car and just walks up to you guys. And they thought it was a terrible idea. Like, this is stupid, you know. What are you talking about, you know? I said, let's just try it. Let's just do that. And they did it. And I'm telling you, like, there was a moment there was a moment when they went from this is a really bad idea to like literally starting to perform. And you could see almost like that transformation happen. And when that transformation happened, there was like 5 or 6 cars that stopped. People were
Mhm.
giving them money. They're like, this is cool. People pay us.
Yeah. That's
We focus too much on the trauma. We focus too much on the thing that we're afraid of. We focus too much on the fear. So am I going to focus on confidence or am I just going to put my shoulders back and be a little bold today? I'm going to be bold when I go up the elevator. That's all. I'm just going to be bold. And then when it opens up, I'm going to go like this again. Okay, cool, no problem.
yeah.
You know, do what you do. But you know what's good? Even if you did this and you do this, when you walk in, there will be a difference. You will be a different person walking in, even if it's only 1%.
Yeah. What I find with therapy is like our intention when we walk in to do therapy is usually to answer the question, what's wrong with me? And if you're looking for an answer to what's wrong with you, you're going to find a lot of answers and it's just going to backfire,
Oh,
right? I always tell my clients like our brain thinks in one direction and the direction it's going to go in is based on the question you ask it. A person can't be confident and at the same time be aware that he's being confident because by definition that's being self-conscious, right? So
yes.
he wouldn't be confident in that case, he would just be acting. So like
Yeah.
that's why a lot of times people can do something that other people consider needy, but they do it with so much conviction without like thinking about it that it comes off very confident as opposed to someone else doing the same thing and it comes off taking or very needy or wanting
Hmm.
something from the other person.
So those are the value. That's the value of qualities now. See what you're talking about is really cool. So then you look and say, how am I showing up? How do I want to show up? And what quality can I add to that? That can that can dissolve that. So let's say I'm a confident person. I talk, but I am needy. I've always been needy in my relationships, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, that's not really helping this relationship. I see that this is not this way that I am normally is not helping this relationship. Like I have a need that I need you to call me all the time and blah 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 that kind of stuff, right? And so when I talk to you, I'm going to get mad at you because you don't call me all the time.
Mhm.
But let's say the other person is very confident. Goes, I'm thinking about you, or I'm busy and I don't call you because I'm busy. It doesn't mean I
Yeah.
don't like you. So there becomes these different interpretations, right? In the relationship. And it's like, well, what quality can I work on that's going to help me with that thing?
And relationships are so good for that because they bring out so much of that that you don't really get to bring out with just strangers or other people because nobody really gets to that point of knowing you so intimately.
Yeah.
Even like being in a 30-year relationship versus a 1-year relationship, then 30-year problems start coming up that you didn't even know existed and you can work on. It's the argument that people make for being like in multiple relationships, changing partners constantly. Like that's fun and it's a great time. Like you go on so many adventures doing that. But at the end of the day, like years down the line, ultimately, like the ultimate goal I find is that being with one person for a long time has its own rewards down the line, because you see different versions of yourself and them that you can't really get changing partners constantly. There's a certain reward that comes years down the line that the 30-year relationship version of you couldn't have come out or existed if you were just changing partners for 30 years.
Yeah.
So both have their place. I find there's a lot of just showing up, putting yourself out there, and being willing to take that on, and putting your ego aside for a second to address things that are coming up. I think is the key to showing up to that and being willing to heal and take action on that.
That's
Like
awesome. Yeah. I love
yeah,
that. I love that. In spiritual psychology, they that's my master's is in spiritual psychology.
well, that's awesome. I didn't know
And
that.
they would say as you in spiritual psychology, they said that you earn the right to deal with this challenge.
Hmm.
You know, so sometimes like the relationship in because of the relationship you're in and because you evolved through certain things, now you earn the right to deal with a different evolution. I
Hmm.
got a new evolution to deal with, you know. I get this new thing to me to deal with. Like going through divorce, there's something to deal with. There's something to learn. Like you can go through a divorce and be upset. And that's you probably should be upset and you probably should feel sad because
Hmm.
you know you had high hopes for your relationship and it didn't work out. That's certainly how I felt, you know, and
Hmm.
people that I talk to feel the same way. And what can I learn from this? Right? That's what you're saying. What can I learn from this? You know,
Yeah.
we're separating, we're getting a divorce. You know, I probably had something to do with it, you know. There's a chance, right? Right. Versus blame the other person because, you know, he's a jerk or she's a bitch or something, you know. What I mean? The wise thing is to be willing to look at yourself, which is what you're doing with people. That's it. I think all you do as a coach, is you're getting people to be better. You're a human performance coach. You're what I am. You're getting humans to perform better as humans.
Hmm.
That's what you're doing. You're getting men that are shy to be more confident, to perform better with regard to being shy or to be able to go and get women that they feel that they're worthy of. You know, it's like you work hard, you know, because your clients are mostly high net individuals, right? So they
Yeah.
work hard. They've gone to school. They're doctors. They're attorneys, and they worked hard at themselves. But yet they don't have the confidence when it comes to somebody. It's like, so you've earned the right to
Hmm.
do that. And if you do not meet and be with the kind of women that you really want to be with, you're setting yourself up for failure. So of course you would be shy about that. Of course you would lack confidence because you want to be with a woman that calls you out. You want to be with a great woman. And you know what? You don't know what that's like. You've never been with a great woman. You've been with a knucklehead or, you know,
Hmm.
whatever. So you're teaching men how to do that. I love that. You know, teaching men how to like be a better man, to
Hmm.
be a better partner,
Hmm.
to sustain those relationships, to grow those relationships, right? 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Have the confidence and the and the willingness to keep working on the new problems that show up, the new problems that show up. Oh, guess what? This was my mom and dad's problem. Well, guess what? You're gonna have to deal with that one too. Because
Hmm.
that's how you were raised and that's what you know, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it. Yeah.
A lot of guys that come to me either from a divorce, a breakup, or when they like a girl that is rejecting them and they're trying to get her to like them. A lot of times I'll go into the concept of abundance in terms of not needing this person anymore. And the one pushback I always get is, but I don't have abundance. And so I think you would have a lot to add to this too, because my approach to this is that abundance isn't something that you have outside of like material things. But even then, you could have those things and still feel scarce. You could be in a scarcity mindset, having all the money and all the resources in the world and all the women. You're just afraid to lose something because it's coming from you. It's coming from the way you see things, your perspective. It's abundance is internal. It's based on the way you express gratitude for everything. It's based on the love that you see around you, that you look for, first of all, and that you find. Going back to what I said about the questions you ask yourself, what's wrong with me versus like, why am I such an amazing person? Why do I have so much love in my life? Your brain is going to look for answers no matter which question you ask.
Yes.
So why not cultivate that abundance in the questions that you're asking to start, even? So when people are going after one girl to get them to like them, or just focused on their ex after coming out of a breakup, they don't realize that this abundance comes from themselves. It's internal. It's in the skills that you're working on to be able to talk to so many people. Like, this is something I get with people in relationships. They're like, "Oh, I only have this one girl. If I lose her, I don't have any abundance. Like, it's just I'm in a relationship with this one girl." I'm like, that's not abundance. Isn't like having side chicks. That's not abundance.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
just because you're in a relationship with one girl doesn't mean you don't have abundance. Abundance comes from your wealth of relationships with your family, with your friends, and with your skill of meeting strangers and sparking up conversations, your ability to keep things going, to lead interactions forward, to be the life of the party. That's where your abundance comes from, because you know the day you break up with this girl, if it comes to that, you're going to be able to go and recreate this abundance because you have it already. You have this base of knowledge that you can just go and spark a connection out of nowhere. That's a skill. And that's where the abundance comes from, not in so much of like, I'm scared to lose this girl because I don't have any options waiting for me. It's the wrong
I love
perspective.
that.
So I'd love to hear about your idea of abundance and where it comes from and how to cultivate it, if you have thoughts on that.
I absolutely do. First off, you can't cultivate abundance in my
Mm.
perspective. I learned this from a
Uh,
shaman. So a buddy of mine's a shaman. His perspective is that he said we're all from the light, is what he said. We're all from the light. You know, there's the light and we're all the light. So we're all one. I'll say this kind of quickly. So we're all one, right? So we're all the universe. Like we're the equal and we're the equal and we're all of it at the same
yeah.
time. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, okay, just close your eyes. He goes, picture how far out in the universe you can go and the emptiness and the stars and all that. I said, okay, so I did that. And this was like a 5 hour process. I'm going to tell you in like 1 minute or two, right? So I would do that, right? We did mushrooms, by the way.
I just throw that in. We were on mushrooms,
Yeah.
by the way.
It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
so like I out there, right? And so I'm out there, so I can see like all the stars and
Yeah.
everything, right? I can see just like everything. He goes, all right. He says, now go inside. And I went inside, right? The lungs, the heart, and all that. Keep going deeper, deeper, deeper. And it goes as far this way
Mhm.
as it does that way. Like the skin,
Mhm.
right? And this thing that I think is me, it goes as far this way as it does that way. It is literally the exact same size. It doesn't end. It doesn't, it's vast. You with
Yeah.
me? And I was like, whoa, that's great. He said, okay, so we're all one. And we're like, okay, because we're all part of that same thing,
Mm.
right? So and for as example, like if I was to go out this way, right, to the stars, then I would go to LA and I would hit Gore, right? And I would go right straight through you,
Mhm.
right? You would be like a little star, right? But then you'd be included in everything, right? And if I go inside that far, I would run into another star, another something, right? And I'd keep going.
Mm.
So it's like, okay, we're all part of the same thing. I said, okay, that's really interesting. That's a really, really interesting concept. So abundance is just what's so. Abundance exists. So you can't have more abundance. You can't have abundance. Abundance just is. It is. It exists, right? So, but what we have as humans is we have the amount that we have like our resistance and our limiting beliefs. And we have a lot of other things around this as well. Okay. Not just these two, but I'm just going to use these as an example. So if I was to if I was to tell you right now to take a deep breath, go ahead and do that. Take a deep breath. Okay. Just release it. Okay. So just breathe normally. And I'm going to say, now this time when you take a deep breath, I want you to understand that you have lymph nodes up here and you have all this room for oxygen. And it goes up here and it goes up here and it goes here, it goes everywhere.
Mm.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is try to feel the oxygen through your chest up here. Okay. But what I want you to do first is I want you to fill your belly and then notice what you feel now. There's more room for oxygen, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to do it again. And then I want you to hold it. And then I'm going to ask you to take another sip of air. Okay. So go ahead and do that. Stomach, chest, fill it up. Now take a bong rip. There's more room. That's abundance. We live in a belief system that says there's only so much. And we've taught our bodies to only breathe so deeply. That's what trauma, because that's what it is to be safe.
Mm.
So we live in a physical system of safety. And you see this belly of mine and this right here is also a manifestation of safety, right? So some people say you should take that Ozempic. I'm like, I'm not going to, because Ozempic is just going to do the whatever I need, whatever I'm searching for is I'll find.
Yeah.
And when I find it, then this will the manifestation of that will be more. And I work out really, really hard. I'm telling you, like my workouts are crazy. I just got, they're nuts. Like most people can't do the workout that I do. Like it's insane, And I'm 60 and I'm working out with 25-year-olds. And most people out there can't keep up with me. Now athletes can, but most people can't keep up with me at 60 years old. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that like I don't need like Ozempic. That's not the thing. What I'm looking for is what layer am I missing? What limiting belief do I have? Where am I resisting? Because I know it's here. It already exists. So it's unpacking that. So I say abundance already exists, but what we want to do is I think we want to grow as humans, as spirits. So what we're doing is we're unpacking, we're peeling the layers to get to what we want, which already exists. So abundance is the pursuit of your greatness. It's the pursuit of your spirit. It's the pursuit of your inspiration. It's the pursuit of your joy. It's all that. And for some people that lack confidence, then abundance is that's the distinction that you're working on, because that unlocks a different version of somebody. But like you said, okay, now I'm in a relationship and now I've been married for 30 years and then something happens and now I need a different skill set that I never needed up to this point. All my kids left and now it's just me and my wife, and we kind of really don't have much in common anymore because what we had in common was our kids, but they're now gone, right? So now I have a different opportunity to recreate love, recreate my relationship, recreate that. It's already there. It exists. It's an abundance, but it's what I'm going to tap into. Where do I want to tap into it, right? And so I, for me, it's about finding like, and I say this again, it's about finding the skills or the values, virtues that we want to add to what we already have. I want to add something to this, and that is going to increase. It's going to increase my experience of abundance, but it's just all it's doing is it's increasing my experience, but it's not like it wasn't there already. So when you took a breath in, we gave you a distinction, right? To breathe up here, right? So now when you take a deep breath, for now on, you're probably gonna go, okay, I'm gonna fill that up,
Yeah.
right? And then when if you do breath work, comes a whole breath, we take a couple extra sips, right? Your body did not exist right there before you took that breath. You just now are tapped into it. Now that gives you access to something else because now we didn't took your body this way. Now when you go to jog, you go to work out, you go, okay, I'm gonna take a deeper breath here and work out. See how that affects my workout. You're going to find that you're going to have more strength because you've hyperoxygenated yourself. You've done different things. When you see the cute girl at Starbucks, you're like, I'm going to take a deep breath. And all of a sudden your brain goes from reptilian brain to your neocortex and says, hey, maybe I'll go talk to her. Let me get curious. Curiosity theory. Right? Let me get curious and just find out her name. Let me find out if she's married or not. Let me find out if she's single. Let me just find out. So you go and you go, hey, how you doing? She's like, I'm fine. I'm just getting a coffee. Hey, blah, blah, blah. We're talking chit chat. And he's like, hey, so you got a boyfriend? She's like, I got a boyfriend. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to get the information. I don't need to invalidate myself with that information.
It's a good point when you said it from your reptilian brain to your neocortex. I honestly believe that that transition for whoever is able to make that shift is where all your progress resides. And because people aren't even aware that they're stuck in their reptilian brain, especially like when it comes to entrepreneurs who are on their computer all the time, always working, and especially when they have that trauma of like proving their self-worth and compensating for that with overachievement. There's no such thing in their lives as like diffusing that energy. They're just always on, and then they experience burnout, and now their health is at risk, and now they got to spend the resources that they built up to bring their health up where they could have balanced it out together, because they're all a priority. Your relationships, your health, your career are all priorities. You have to find a way to bring them up together.
Yes.
I would love to talk about that in terms of being able to control your day, because I find that controlling yourself, controlling your life is very much dependent on being able to manage your emotional state. And that
Uh-huh.
comes down to being able to switch from getting hijacked in your brain and what people associate with ADHD, and then they go get pills and try to fix it that way. Like you said, you don't want to take Ozempic and just rely on that because it's already there. And on the mental
Yeah.
side, it's like they just go get the Adderall and all the other stuff just to cover
Yeah.
the symptoms. So do you have any thoughts on how people can practice that skill and how they can be more aware of it? Because I feel that this is holding down society on a major scale of just not being able to recognize that they're in this state of trance through most of the day, and they can't come to they can't use their neocortex.
So one of the things at the very beginning, I was talking about fundamentals, right? So I have these fundamentals. They're my 10, I call them my 10 pillars right here. 10 pillars, like 10 pillars of human performance mastery, right? It's reversed because of the
Yeah.
camera. So my first one is develop an elite mindset. Okay. So think about this as a business person, as a professional athlete, as just a dad or somebody that is going to try to meet girls or something,
Yeah.
right? Or a woman that wants to get married. Okay. So develop an elite mindset. So you want a strong
Right.
mindset, right? Okay. Be your word. Learn to be a person of integrity. Give and keep your word. Celebrate wins and learns. So celebrate what you win and the learns. We're not calling them losses. We're going to say learns. So when things don't turn out the way that I wanted to do, we just go, okay, what can I learn from that? So many people, if they lose, what they call they beat themselves up, and it's like it's a sin. It's like a sin to lose, right? Okay, let's look at the word sin. What does the word sin come from? It's an archery term, and it means miss the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means miss the mark. They don't use it anymore. They might not. I don't think they use it anymore. But it's like sin. So how you measure where your arrow hit from the bullseye is a sin. So I sin 10, I sin 20, I sin 30. That's so you make the adjustment based on the
I
sin,
see.
right?
Yeah.
But we have sin as like you're a bad human because you sinned. It's like no, I missed the mark. Okay. Well, I was in a relationship and I fooled around on my wife or something, right? So well, you're a sinner. I go, "No." Okay. And it's not what I intended. I didn't get married because I was intending on having an affair. Like it's like needs work. And I'm not saying take it lightly. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, don't you don't have to beat yourself up. What's the lesson you need to learn? Learn the lesson. So that is celebrate wins and learns. As I might say, celebrate wins and learns daily. Number four is master 1%. So 1%, we talked about that earlier. 1%. So I just want to become better 1%. So I'm in I'm a batter. I never swing at the bat. I never swing. Okay, all I'm going to do is swing 3 times. That is a 1% improvement from getting striked out watching the ball go by, right?
Right.
And then you just become better and better. But there's also another thing I do. I said if you meditate 1% of your life. So I would ask you, do you meditate every day? Do you
I've
meditate
had
at
so
all?
much trouble meditating. I can't really. I need movement to balance my mind.
Awesome. So then I use breath work as meditation. Okay. So if I said to you, would you really be willing to dedicate 1% of your life to your breath work and meditation per day?
I would love to, yeah.
Okay. So great. You'd love to. So what if I told you 1% of your life, 1% of a day is 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So then all you do is you set your timer on your phone for 14 minutes and 24 seconds. And whatever you think, whatever you do that. And when the timer goes off, you're done. Like that's it.
You said,
Like I just got up and walked to the bathroom. It's like 1%. Like I'm going to improve 1%. Now, you may have just sat there thinking about everything you normally think about, but you did it in time. And then tomorrow you're going to have another opportunity. Say, okay, well, if I go to Martine, if you go to my, if you go to my website or something, I have meditations and breath work, right? But some of them are at 14 minutes and 24 seconds. It's three cycles and it ends in 14 minutes and 24 seconds. Why? Because that's 1%.
mhm,
You can improve 1%. If I'm not if at work I'm not good at making phone calls. I'm in sales, right? I never make phone calls. I'd say, well, then set your alarm for 14 minutes and 24 seconds and hit the button and make phone calls for 14 minutes and 24 seconds.
I love that.
You know, it's because anything, and then there's so much more to it. It's just not that simple, but you see, it just works. So those are these are fundamentals, right? And so these are things I can teach I can teach a CEO that I can teach a football player, a baseball player, basketball player. I can teach somebody MMA. I can teach somebody that's a gardener. Everything. Those are fundamentals of life, and they just work. But you have your fundamentals. You have your fundamentals. And what I do when I coach people is, what are your fundamentals? What is the things you believe? So I have people do it. Like somebody just wrote his fundamentals for me, right? This is what it goes. Easygoingness, empathy, reliability. This isn't mine. This is another client of mine. Reliability, friendliness, love, connection, helpfulness, fragility, independence, fortitude, patience, and discipline. Those are his fundamentals, right? But what does he want to work on? He wants to work on communicating, gratitude, judgment, ambitiousness, ambition. He wants to work on his strength. These are things he wants to work on, right? So once he knows his fundamentals, how does he then improve those fundamentals, courage or whatever that are, right? That improves all those other fundamentals. So I think what the answer to the question, it's a long answer, but it's know your fundamentals. You got to know your fundamentals. You got to know where you start and you go from there.
So he could use, for example, courage to work on strength, which is like
Yeah.
if his fundamental is courage, that he values courage, he feeds into courage to show up and work on his strength. Is that what that means?
100%. Yeah. So like, let me use your example. If let's say how would you, and you're a very courageous person already. You do things that most people are afraid to do. Okay. But what would it, can you think of something for you would require you to have more courage? Because something that you may be afraid of doing or something's going to push you. Can you see that courage would be a way to do that?
Yeah, I think the courage to commit to something long term in terms of progress without seeing that progress would be a applicable way of doing that.
Absolutely. So most people are going to focus on the thing that they're doing and going, oh, let me measure. But I'm just developing my courage. So every time that I have a setback, like I just need to lean in more. I need to lean in more. I need to be more. Okay, I want to be more courageous. I want to be more courageous. So all of a sudden, I have a courageous muscle, and now when I go do other things, guess what? The ripple effect of courage is there. So I'm just I'm naturally more courageous.
So it's like I value courage. I'm good at being courageous and facing my fears. I have
Hmm.
resistance showing up to the gym because it's scary and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if I'm making progress, just like uncertainty. How about instead of thinking about it like I'm showing up to build big muscles and compete in the bodybuilding competition and then I get frustrated that I'm doing it wrong and I'm not seeing progress, how about I reframe that to I value courage and every time I show up I'm working on my courage. Is that is that what you mean?
Absolutely. So yes, and then what I would take inside of your definition, your explanation, I would say certainty is knowing what to do,
Right.
correct? So if you wrote down on a piece of paper and you said, I'm going to do this exercise, this exercise, this exercise, this exercise, I'm going to do it in two intervals of 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So I'm going to dedicate 2% of my day, 3 or 4 days a week to going to the gym, which is basically 28 and a half minutes, right? To going to the gym per day. And I'm going to do you're going to do these exercises, which will take me less than 30 minutes to do, 25 minutes. And you have this thing that you're talking about, which is certainty, right? So then all of a sudden you find yourself going to the gym. You're like, wow, it's pretty good. What I really needed is certainty. Okay. Because my brain was thinking I needed courage, but I wasn't lacking courage.
Mhm.
It wasn't the correct use of the tool or the skill that I needed to get the job done. I work with a soccer coach out of LA, and he talks about it's diagnosis. That's what we talk about. You got to diagnose the correct problem, and you want to diagnose the correct need. So if you're like, I'd like to be more courageous, you're like, okay, cool. That's probably not the one. That wouldn't be a good one for you in the scenario. I'd say
All
certainty,
right. Right.
because you said, I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
And I don't have certainty. So, okay, great. So then I would say, so this is the workout. This is the workout. Will you commit to this workout? Yeah. Would you go to the gym 4 days a week and do this workout, which is 2% of your day to work on the gym and probably take you another a half a percent to get there because it's 7 minutes away and half a percent to get back. So your 3% of your day, let's say 4% of your day is going to be 4 times a week is going to be committed to your physical health. Would you want to do that? Yeah, I want to do that. Okay. Now whether you do that or not is a different thing. So now might be, number three, be your word, right? Or number two, I moved them around. So number two is being your word. So your ability to give your word and keep your word.
Mhm.
That's a fundamental. So you have certainty, but your ability is not certainty. It's your ability to give your word and keep your word.
Now the need changes.
It does. It changes. Yeah. The thing that you want to do. That's why they're fundamentals, because you can work on the fundamentals. The fundamentals are what I call they're interchangeable, and you can put them in different things in different areas.
Yeah, and I love the way
You
you
know.
bring it all together, and the way it applies. Like, I feel like most people don't know how to apply that. They just like go about their day and based on feelings, and they're like, an impulse. I'm just gonna act
Yeah.
on this, and this is, I'm feeling resistance. I'm feeling lazy. I'm not gonna show up. But what if I just push through and show up, and then that's not self-sustaining. They might show up for a little bit, and then they crash and burn or burn out. But the way you kind of flow with those punches, like what is my need right now as it changes and you adapt to those changes, I feel is a much more sustainable and much more mature and healthy way of going about it, as opposed to just powering through and then being hard on yourself. Like, why do I miss it? I think it's
Yeah.
people need that.
Thank, thank you. Yeah. I'm done negotiating with myself about this thing. This feeling, thinking, not acting, just negotiate with myself. Am I going to do that? Like I went to the gym this morning, right? I negotiated with myself. But what I did, I was negotiating with myself even when I was driving in that direction, right? But I made my drink, like my little power drink I take. But I made it, right? And I'm too cheap. I'm not going to waste it. So I'm going to
I
the
see.
gym,
You value not wasting it.
hmm
So that's the thing that gets you there.
It's multiple things, right? It's multiple things. But what we want to do is we want to take away the things you negotiate, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then be really good at giving and keeping your word. And you got to understand that it's mastery. Like you're working on mastery. And I'm not going to say this like an excuse, but it's an absolute excuse. You see this?
Yeah.
Guess who has food he doesn't? Guess who didn't take the food out of his house that he shouldn't eat? It's the same thing. You want to lose weight, take the food out of your house, right? And just because I can coach it doesn't mean I necessarily do it all. That's what it is to be a human. And I'm not saying that as an excuse, and it is an excuse. you, I'm a work in progress, and I don't make myself wrong for being a work in progress.
It's the curiosity aspect. Like this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
What's a little bit more I could do. But then when you keep failing, right? I often see it as you're just not looking detailed enough to see the progress because the progress is so small and like, little by little. Whereas like people see it like I failed again and again. I keep failing. How do you address that when the outside evidence is telling you that you just, yeah, you're being curious, you're trying to be compassionate with yourself, but it's not helping you. You keep failing. You're a loser. You're just not worth it. How do you address?
Well, the diagnosis is wrong. So I said win or learn, right?
Mhm.
Daily. Celebrate wins or learns daily. So if I didn't, if I lost, I call that a learning opportunity. What did I learn from this? I learned something from this. I'd rather learn from it than have an experience of hurting myself.
Mhm.
It's like taking a knife and saying, "Well, you didn't eat the right food today, so stick yourself with a knife." Basically doing the same thing. But what happens is your body learns to accept pain and learns to accept mediocrity,
Right.
learns to accept that,
Yeah,
you know.
that's powerful.
And you train yourself for that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know.
That's huge.
So it's exactly the same. See, all the lessons are fundamentals. Everything is fundamentals.
I mean, food is a great example. Like when you give in to cravings, you're like, I ate that candy again. If you're having the same action, like you're doing the same thing, can you really, just to be devil's advocate here for a moment, can you really learn something new each time if the mistake you're making is the same each time? You're doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And do you
Yes.
find
That's
that little thing to learn each time?
You can I think if you're being curious and you're being neutral, and if you're willing to actually consider if what you're doing is just deepening that habit with no awareness, and what you're learning is that you're a piece of shit,
Yeah.
like and you're becoming more of a victim, you're just becoming more of a victim, then, you certainly are learning something and you're reprogramming something, like I said, but I'd rather work on programming myself for progress
Mhm.
than programming myself for habits that don't serve me.
Right. So what is the fundamental belief there that you reinforce whenever you come across a mistake? Do you believe that each time this happens, I'm still making progress towards the goal to one day cut this out completely, even if you're not seeing that progress in the moment? Do you think
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
this just means that the progress is just further out and I'm in the beginning stages of it? Or do you see it as like, I don't know, maybe one day I'll do it, but right now I'm not going to be hard on myself. Like, how do you see it in the moment when it's happening?
Number
Number
6,
six.
process over
I
outcome.
see.
Process over outcome.
So the belief is that the outcome will come. The process is that you're in it, you're doing it.
I go to the gym now, a minimum of 3 times a week. I started up again in October, hurt my knee really bad. So I got a cortisone shot the other day. So today I ran. That's process over outcome. It's like, okay, I can run a little bit more. I did that for a little bit, and I went to run again, and I felt a little bit of pain. I'm like, okay, don't do that. Just do what you said you're going to do. And I allowed myself to be satisfied with that progress. And it's life. You gotta enjoy life. You gotta like. I just think embracing life is important. But if you don't embrace life, then there's the thing to learn,
Yeah,
right? And where could you apply that? You can apply that everywhere. There's fundamentals, and so as human beings, we're not going to run out of stuff to learn.
right. Yeah.
There's no way. Just like your example, you're married for 20 years and you got something new to learn.
It's a different version of both of you. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's crazy because so much of the advice out there in terms of like overcoming these setbacks and it reinforces the being hard on yourself part by just being like, you're a man, you gotta have a purpose. Like, wake up, have a purpose. purpose, 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 and then guys will be like, well, what's my purpose? I don't feel motivated. I don't feel like I have that purpose. Where's that life event that's gonna give me that purpose? And where you're coming from is like, know what you want, but don't worry about it. Just focus on 1% of your day, and that's the thing that get you
Yeah.
going.
Okay. Okay. And then what you just said, I would say, I would respond to what you said. Absolutely, yes. Focus on 1% of the day. But so you said the guy uh knew his purpose, but he woke up and then he goes, "What's my
Yeah,
purpose?" Okay.
waiting
So
for life.
remember, so the diagnosis is incorrect.
Mm.
We talked about diagnosis, right? So you diagnosed it incorrectly. You thought that was your purpose. You didn't the proper diagnosis. It was what you thought, but then when you did it, you realized that was just the wrong I concluded the something that wasn't right. Okay, well, you can I would say like hurt yourself. You can stab yourself and cause pain, or you can go, I can just let me go find a different let me find a different way to do the light bulb. Like Edison, like 10,000 times. I'm sure he probably wanted to quit many times. And we do, we want to quit. We want to quit. We get married, we get a divorce, we want to quit. We get married, we're in the middle of the marriage and she doesn't say something or I don't say something. Yeah, and we're in pain. We want to quit. That's just what life is. But you build your fundamentals to be able to withstand the things,
Mm.
right? And it doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems or challenges. It simply is you grow in the learning line and you learn new challenges. That's all it's going to be. Or you can I say this. I have a lot of friends that every weekend they pack their dune buggies.
Mm.
You live in LA, right? They pack their dune buggies, their motorcycles, they get in their RV, they put beer in their RV, they pack their barbecues and all that stuff, and they get in their and they go to the desert.
So fun.
And then Sunday afternoon, they come back and they just love that life. That is a life for them. It's just not the life for me.
Yeah,
It's not the life for me.
yeah. So it starts from your fundamentals, from the things that you value, and then you worry about what the purpose is. You got to start from the fundamentals.
Yeah, fundamentals I think are more important than anything. You're already doing it. Your life is based on virtues.
Right.
You navigate your life based on your virtues, right? And when something attacks our virtues or when something questions our virtues, we take it personal. The reason you take it personal is because you have a virtue that you actually have something that's important to you. But we take it personal. It's like, well, this person didn't do this. Like, yeah, that just means you believe in your thing. That's all. It doesn't. But you can make the person wrong, or you can get your feelings hurt, which I do all the time. So don't get me. I'm not like immune to
Yeah.
this. What do I have to learn now? What is the lesson I have to learn?
Yeah.
Like literally this week I learned a lesson, a huge lesson. You know,
I think part of that relationship is being able to recognize the child that comes out in the other person whenever it comes out. And instead of reacting, you can be like, oh, this is their child coming out. Let me nurture it. And then we can have a conversation about this later. But right now,
that's so
there's a
beautiful.
need here that needs to be met. And when you recognize that in each other, I think it leads to a really healthy relationship. Just knowing that, because when your inner child is coming out, you're in a reactive state. You just want to feel safe. And if the other
Yeah,
person just attacks you, whether you're right or wrong, if they attack you, you just feel more unsafe and you feel more hurt by it, as opposed to them being like, okay, yeah, let's that's fine. You can yell. It's okay. Like I'm here.
yeah,
And I find giving each other that safe space, especially like even bigger than that, is recognizing the need for that safe space because most people are so focused on themselves that they don't see it in the other person or even themselves for that matter, that they need a safe space. That it just leads to unhealthy relationships. And I feel like that's the reason a lot of relationships end is because people don't recognize that in each other. There's this concept of the ping for connection when you come in and you're like, oh, I had such a hard day. And the way your partner responds is like, your hard day? What about my hard day? Like, what are you complaining about? Right? It's like it totally throws off the interaction as opposed to recognizing my partner wants to be heard right now. Let me offer a safe
yeah.
space and then I can talk about my hard day too if I want to. But two
Yeah.
people getting triggered, like she wants to be heard, like, oh no, what about me? Like, I want to be heard too. Let me overpower her and then talk about my hard day. It just leads to unhealthy relationships as opposed to both of you growing in awareness. I think when partners grow together, I think the way you can summarize that or explain is you're both growing your level of awareness and learning the other person. And that helps you learn other people too outside of the relationship and be better communicators when you recognize.
I call that giving somebody the dignity of their process.
Mm, I like that.
In my divorce, I had my experience and I knew what it was for me. And my ex-wife wasn't interested in my experience. And I didn't like that she wasn't interested in what my experience was. But she was having an experience. And I thought, well, I've got two kids and she's going to raise their kids are adult kids, but she's going to be a part of their life. So if I contribute to her not being healthy and healed, that's going to affect my children. Completely selfish, right? And that's going to affect my life. So, and she's not interested in helping me, which is fine. So I'm going to be kind and I'm going to contribute as much as I can. And so that when she needs to be heard, she can be heard. When she has something she needs to communicate, she can communicate. It's also her responsibility to say, I need to be heard, I need to be communicated. You know, that's not my responsibility. It's her responsibility. But like you said, you create a safe space for that to
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's those. That's just a fundamental. You know, but if she has something, to give her the dignity of what she has to say. I don't use that as an opportunity for me to say, oh, well, this is I think you had a bad day. Let me tell you about my bad day. It's like, and I teach a class called Communication Mastery, and in Communication Mastery, we redistinguish things. What I mean by redistinguish is we use words a specific way. We use empathy a specific way. We use empathy as a way to be able to see what another person is going through, but you don't have to experience that same process. Now, I have a slide. Can I show a
Yeah, of
slide really
course.
quick? You see how like this guy has an arrow in his butt and this guy has an arrow in his
Right.
butt? When somebody walks into the house and they say, I was having a bad day, and you go, I was having a bad day, you basically stuck an arrow in your butt and you're like, hey, we're the same.
Yeah.
But if this person has an arrow in his butt, you don't have to put an arrow in your butt to understand that having an arrow in your butt hurts. That's empathy. I understand what that must feel like. You want to share with me what it feels like. Most people take it as an opportunity to go, well, I had a bad day too. And I say that's not empathy. Empathy, let me show you this next slide here. So empathy is not correcting or saying or one upping. That's nothing. Look what happened to me. That's not empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy here requires you to focus all your attention on the other person's message. So when somebody is saying, I'm having a bad day, what we're saying in communication mastery, or what I teach, um, is that give them the dignity of that whole process. Be curious, find out about that, because then they're going to start to share what was going on with them, and they will likely figure it out themselves. And maybe sometimes they just decompress. So, for instance, I'll give an example with Ingrid and I. Um, I'm not necessarily really good at telling people what my day was like. I'm not good at that. Like, I'm not good at saying this is what I did today, but Ingrid is incredibly good at saying, "That's what I did." Well, she tells me all this stuff. Like, that's cool. It's a great story. I'm like, I'm listening to her. I love her. And then at the end, she feels better. Right? So now we're more connected. So now the result is more human connection. So I can say, well, if I tell her what I was doing, she's not interested in what I was doing. It's okay. She doesn't have to be interested in what I was doing. I'm interested in what I was doing. I don't need somebody else to be interested in what I was doing. I'm interested.
Mhm.
If she's not interested, she doesn't ask. And so many of us get so caught up in that. Well, you're not interested in what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I'm not. I'm not. Well, it means you don't love me. No, it doesn't mean I don't love you. I'm not a good listener. I'm not interested. I'm just not good at listening to what goes on with other people. I'm just really good at listening, telling people what's going on with me. Okay, great. That's how you are. It's like I don't have to make you wrong
Yeah.
for it. But so many people that a lot of men say that, like it's I get home, my wife tells me all about her day, and I don't really give two shits about it. It's like, yeah, I understand that, you know, and you guys are not connected. Well, she should understand that she talks too much. Okay. And to her, she doesn't talk too much, you know? So now you're also not connected. Well, how you fix that is, how about if I work on my skills of listening? I'm going to work on my ability to listen, right? Then my listening skill muscle gets bigger. My muscle for listening gets bigger. Now I go to work and one of my employees wants to talk and share something. I'm going to listen. And then my ability to empathize with other people is better. My brother calls me and he has a problem and I listen to him.
Mhm.
And then I'm listening to myself more. And now I have another skill that is added to who I am, which is the skill of listening, right?
Yeah.
But I need people to listen to me. Okay, go find somebody then. Go find someone that wants to hear everything you want to say. Go find a go find a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like-
But it should be my wife. Why?
That's very powerful. You have friends for that. You have social circles. You have guy friends, that you can go and talk about guy stuff with. Like a lot of people
Absolutely.
expect.
But, and then they get mad. But I listen to her. Awesome. Great. Get better at it. It's like, but, yeah, just get better at it. Well, what about me? You're getting better at listening. Oh. And you start opining about it, you start diagnosing it, like it becomes like this thing. So it becomes the dagger you stick yourself with. Don't do that.
What do you think if both partners are in need of that safe space? Like in the example you showed about empathy where they had the arrows in their butts. What if they both had the arrows to begin with and they both need to be heard in that moment? How would you address a situation like that where you're both kind of in your inner child and need to be heard?
Have you heard of Maslow's hierarchy of
Yeah.
needs? So you have to get your lower needs met before you can get your higher needs met. So this is what I call a feelings and needs list. And I got this from Marshall Rosenberg's work with nonviolent communication. We kind of put it together a little bit differently. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs: survival, safety, love and belonging, self-esteem, self-actualization, and then I forget who brought self-transcendence to it. So if we have needs together, they'll compete. So if our needs are both in this area, we're going to typically have colliding needs.
Mhm.
Okay. If they're here, we're probably going to really have outrageous fights. That's what's going to happen. If we can have our needs up here, what we're going to do is we're going to problem solve. We're going to most likely work together.
Mhm.
Okay. So if I have a need to be understood
Mhm.
and somebody's saying, but I have a need for cooperation. You're not cooperating with me. Well, you're not understanding me. Well, you're not cooperating with me. You're not understanding, right? They're going to conflict because they're both, it's like a tug away. But if a person has a need to be understood and I have a need for contribution, then I will contribute to the person by finding a way to understand them. These higher level needs contribute and they connect with these, they allow for those other needs to exist. So a lot of people are going to say, well, I need to be heard, right? It's like, excellent, great. You need to be heard. Great. So I have a need that's effective. I want to be effective. Okay. What means, well, then if you need to be heard, then in order for me to be effective, I need to be more effective listener
Right.
because the measure of that need is actually in the other person's experience. So I need to be heard. Great. Okay. I want to be effective. So I'm going to be practicing listening. So when the conversation's over, I got better at being a listener and I'm more effective at being a listener. So we both got something out of the conversation. When we're competing for lower level needs, our attention is on ourselves and the other person. Your needs are important. I may have a need for consideration. Well, you're not considering what I have to say, but you're not understanding me. Well, you're not considering what I have to say. Well, you're not understanding me. And that's how the fights happen. You're back and forth. It's a tug of war, right?
Yeah.
So you're not understanding what I have to say. Great. I'm really committed to growth. All right, let's listen to what you have to say. And as you're communicating, I'm growing, muscle's getting stronger for my growth muscle. And as I'm listening, it may not be comfortable, but working out's not comfortable, right? You're, you're perfectly fine. You go to the gym and you put on 220 pounds, right? 225 pounds and you're present. That's not comfortable, right? Building muscle is not comfortable, but people are so busy trying to be comfortable in their life.
Yeah, the survival needs or the lower level needs remind me of the put your mask on first before you help the person next to you. And I think if both of you need help putting your mask on, yeah, you're a little bit screwed, but at the same time, like being aware that you need to take care of yourself right now and being able to step away and take care of yourself and figure out how to put your mask on and then come back and then talk about like I needed help putting that mask on. It goes along with what you were saying in terms of recognizing what the person's needs are and then figuring out how to address it and diagnose it correctly. I love that. This is huge stuff, Martinez. I want to make sure people know where to find you and your website, your book, The Curiosity Theory. Where can people find all your stuff?
Yeah, the book's on Amazon. You can, but if you reach out to me, you want a copy of my book, you just reach out to me, Martin at martinlopez.com. Say, send me a copy of your book. I'll send you a free audio of the book. You can just download it. You don't have to give me your name or anything. I'm happy to do it. It's a good book, and it shifted people's lives. It transformed people's lives. Some people have called me to get coaching, and I've said, here, first check out this book, and they're like, nah, listen to your book. It's great. I'm good. Right on. Good.
I love the values that you try to convey to people and be able to take that compassionate approach to growth as opposed to just being hard on yourself, because the connotation with performance is like just get it done, but your approach is very human. I would say very compassionate. So, and people need that. That's a huge thing, especially in today's society where we're all just like driven to succeed, but we forget to live on the day to day and realize that the process is part of the joy that comes with it because you're also evolving the relationship with yourself throughout that process. And that's where all of that stems from. And as a byproduct, you get to the success because of working on the fundamentals.
Yeah. And then you find out you just got it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate you showing up and putting all this out there for the world and people to see. I'm sure people will take a lot from this.
It's really great seeing you too.
Yeah,
Take care. Give my best to your girlfriend.
absolutely. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother.